The Seduction of Pessimism. Here's what you'll pick up from this true story. Told by Samira Lee, storyteller. When we meet Ravi, you'll feel the knot in his stomach that says, the sky is always falling. Yet you'll also watch how a quiet neighbor, a tiny seed of an idea, and one calm decision prove that hope, not headlines, writes the happy ending. Ravi Patel was 29 and already tired. Every morning he biked the same cracked sidewalk to the metro station. Headlines screamed from the newspaper stand. Markets plunge again. Inflation monster looms. Another crash coming. Ravi bought a coffee, nodded at the vendor, and felt a little proud that he knew how bad things were. Pessimism felt smart, responsible, even brave. On the train, he scrolled through forums where people posted graphs that looked like waterfalls. They wrote in capital letters, "Sell everything." Ravi hit like. It felt good to be in the know. He worked in IT, saved half his paycheck, but never invested a cent. He kept the money in a savings account that paid almost nothing. Whenever coworkers talked about index funds, he shrugged. "I'm waiting for the big dip," he said, sounding wiser than them, or so he thought. Years passed. Account statements stayed flat while rent crept up. The world, annoyingly, did not collapse. Across the hall lived Mrs. Gómez, 73, retired teacher. She grew tomatoes on the balcony and greeted Ravi every night. One Friday she knocked, holding a basket of cherry tomatoes still warm from the sun. Ravi thanked her, and she saw the financial news paused on his laptop. She smiled, not unkindly. "I used to scare myself like that," she said. Heard the same noise in '87, in 2001, in 2008. Ravi asked, "So you moved everything to cash?" She laughed. "No, mijo. I kept buying little pieces of the country every month. Scary nights and all." Ravi wanted to argue, but her calm sounded deeper than his fear. She invited him over for tea. While he sipped cinnamon tea, she showed him a shoebox of old brokerage stubs. Each slip looked laughably small, $50 here, $100 there. Yet the numbers on the latest statement told a different story. She never earned a big salary. She never timed the market. She never sold in panic. She simply stayed. "Optimism paid for this condo," she said softly. "Pessimism would have kept me renting and worrying." Ravi walked home, tomatoes in hand, mind buzzing. He remembered what he had read. Pessimism gets clicks, optimism gets compound. He opened his banking app. The emergency fund looked healthy. He realized he could afford to be brave, at least a little. Still, the headlines shrieked louder that weekend. Trade war, bond yields, recession clock. Ravi felt the old tug, wait, hide, survive. He almost closed the laptop. Instead, he phoned his older sister, a nurse who worked night shifts. She answered on her break, voice tired but steady. He asked if she invested. She yawned, "Yep, every payday." Steady drip. "Why?" He told her about Mrs. Gómez. His sister chuckled. "Remember Dad's garden? He planted mango pits. Took 10 years before we tasted a single fruit. We watered dirt for a decade, bro." Patience is the heavy half of hope. Ravi set the phone down, walked to the mirror, and admitted the truth. He wasn't waiting for safety. He was hugging fear because fear made him feel smart. Sunday night, he drafted a simple plan. He would leave 6 months of expenses in savings. Everything else would trickle into a broad index fund, $200 every fortnight. He scheduled the first transfer, then closed the laptop quickly, like jumping into cold water before the mind protests. Monday came. Headlines still blared. Markets wobbled, but his contribution sailed out automatically. Ravi felt a weird mix of nausea and freedom. Days rolled on. Prices dipped, rose, dipped again. Some evenings he sat beside Mrs. Gómez, weeding tomato plants while confessing his urge to sell. She would hand him a ripe one and say, "Markets cough every season. Keep watering." He did. A year passed. His balance wiggled, but the shares stacked. He read less financial gossip, more books about long roads, railroad builders, vaccine inventors, city planners. He noticed a pattern. Progress looked like a straight line if you squint from far enough away, even though every inch was chaos up close. Pessimism zoomed in. Optimism zoomed out. One spring morning, Ravi got a small promotion. He celebrated by raising his auto transfer to $300. Another headline popped. Experts predict lost decade. He almost shared it, then stopped. He walked to the balcony, felt the sun on his face, and laughed out loud. The tune had grown boring. He chose instead to text Mrs. Gómez, "Coffee and balcony tomatoes tonight." She replied with a thumbs up and a sun emoji. 5 more years. Car loans got cheaper, grocery prices swung, yet his routine stayed boring in the best way. The account he once feared to open crossed a number he never imagined. He didn't feel like a genius, just a guy who stopped yanking the steering wheel every time the road curved. Neighbors started asking him for advice. He told them the same boring mantra: save like a pessimist, invest like an optimist. Then leave it alone. Some nodded, some argued. He recognized the old hunger in their eyes, the need to sound smarter than tomorrow. One December evening, snowflakes drifted. Ravi carried a small gift to Mrs. Gómez, a ceramic planter shaped like a book. She filled it with basil seeds, hugged him, and whispered, "See. You finally let time do the talking." That night, Ravi realized his stomach no longer tightened when anchors said crisis. He had swapped adrenaline for acreage, fear for fertile ground. The news cycle kept spinning, but he had stepped off the wheel and planted a garden measured in decades, not headlines. Summary: pessimism talks loud and feels clever, so it seduces us daily. Yet real wealth grows in quiet soil, watered by steady optimism and long patience. Save for storms, but believe springs will come. Choose boring habits over exciting headlines. Time and compounding reward the hopeful far more than fear ever will.